SQology podcast. Many thanks to Resonix Sound Solutions for making this podcast a reality. There's a link in the show notes, but you can find out more about Resonix sound treatments, along with tons of other info, resources, and products at resonixsoundsolutions.com.
What kind of updates do we have?
I don't know.
So many that it's like nothing. I don't have any updates because there's so many updates.
Are you still on space shuttles and stuff?
Unless it crashed, I don't know.
Oh, well, that would not be good.
Yeah,
it was too heavy.
Yeah, they don't call us and give you updates. They're like, all right, we bought it. See you later.
They don't come back and give you any star reviews or.
Well, the review was, hey, this is good. This is really good. We're buying it.
That was the review, was they bought it.
Yeah. Like, this is the only one that was able to handle minus 80 degrees Celsius. We'll use that.
What do you suggest for like the normal everyday guy coming in with just a sedan, wants to improve things, has never done sound editing in his life? I mean, where do you start? Because, I mean, you have tons of information on your website.
Yeah.
But
you're talking about like where would they start with their research or where would they start with their installation?
I meant like you have tons of research, you have tons of data on your website to like figure out all the nth degrees, but also it gets overwhelming on, hey, I just need some stuff for my car. And I think that, usually it was like, oh, you go buy some Dynamat or some Be Quiet, just some constricted layer stuff. And then, which back then we didn't even know what constricted layer was. It was just like, oh, it's Dynamat.
Yeah.
And then if you're fancy, you put 2 or 3 layers on that ends up falling off later. And it feels like it goes from no information to so much information that you don't really know where you're landing anymore, what's useful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, where would you suggest that person who's just, hey, I've got door-mounted speakers, just like Peter loves. I've got, I got some speakers that, I got Dodge Ram pickup. I got speakers in the doors. I got speakers on the dash. And, I'm, putting a couple 18s in the back because of course I am.
Okay. Awesome. McCarter.
Exactly. So what do I do?
First thing would be actually to do the research, where I would start on our website with the Resonix Buyer's Guide. This is the article that everyone has always wanted. And it tells you, most people just want to call or email me and say, hey, what do I get? What do I put in my car? And they don't really, most people think they do, but they actually don't want to talk about the entire situation for, minutes and minutes and minutes. They just want to ask that question. They want to get the information. They want to get out and they want to order product and be left alone. The unfortunate truth is there is no one size fits all. As you guys know, it's kind of like everything else car audio. There is no one size fits all. But the Resonix Buyer's Guide is an article that I have on the website that breaks down every major area of a car in different stages and breaks it down in such a way that's so easy to follow. It gives you exactly what you need, generally like how much and what you should do based on, again, general scenarios, and also gives you value ratings as far as like, is this going to cost more than it's really worth? It gives you performance ratings, like how far it generally takes you. It really is an incredible article. I spent months writing it before it actually went live. And
I actually haven't seen this. So yeah, it's under resources. What materials do I need for my car? Resonix Buyer's Guide. Yeah. And it's, man, it looks like something that was actually done by a professional. I mean, shit,
yeah.
Nice.
And, the unfortunate truth is, like you said, most people went from, you just go buy Dynamat and you slap it on your door. Now it's all of a sudden out of nowhere, this overwhelming amount of information. And frankly, I blame the rest of my product subcategory on that because everyone sort of got away with being able to offer the minimum for so long. And then, I wanted to not offer the minimum. And this does go a lot deeper and a lot further than, okay, just stick some sound deadener on some panels and you're good to go.
Right.
And frankly, these companies aren't even making an attempt to catch up, which leaves me kind of on my own, which is a good thing. But yeah, we recommend all different things. And for most people, that general average customer who's reaching out to me, hey, like you said, I have a Dodge Ram, doing a 6x9 mid bass and a wideband in the dash. I'm going to recommend, 8 times out of 10, our stage 2 sound deadening kit. It's going to be constrained layer damper on the outer door skin, inner door skin, and the door panel itself. By the way, constrained layer damper on the door panel itself is the most important part of the door to treat. And most people think otherwise. I'm not sure why. And then Resonix Fiber Mat, which is an excellent sound absorber and decoupler on the door panel. And, some butyl rope for the door panel, before you install the CLD, some, again, butyl rope for the crash bar area. So you can, constrain the door, the outer door skin with it. And that's pretty much it. And CCF strips to go around the mid-bass driver so it seals to the grill and funnels all that sound energy into the listening space instead of allowing it to go behind the door. And that's pretty much it. That gets you, it's a very simple install, but it gets you pretty far. You want to take it up from there, you can add Resonix Guardian or Resonix Lockout as a sound absorber for the door cavity, which actually helps a lot. More than most people would expect. And then it just goes up from there. And again, the Resonix Buyer's Guide explains in detail in an easy to follow way what has to be done to achieve these different steps.
I didn't realize that was there. So
yeah, and that's the thing. Most people don't realize that's there. And it's like, I've been trying, people kind of do get annoyed that I plug Resonix so much. It's not even that I'm just plugging it to like promote the brand. It's like, hey, there is more stuff that we have to offer. Right. And it's not just product, it's information that helps you. And I update that website weekly. Like there's new stuff on that website every single week.
No, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You have to repeat yourself because like we've had amplifiers for like 9 years now. And people are still like, what, you have amplifiers?
It's yeah. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I know. It's like, yeah. We've had them for a long time, so it's not new, but here we are.
Yeah.
When you said that about your competitors, of course, I went to the Dynamat website, and it's like there's, everything is very product centric first. So, and you would think that it's just like, oh, well, this product has a bigger name than that product, so this is the product I need. And there's really not all that much information except for, Dynamat.
I mean, look, frankly, I will give it to them. They don't have to have that. They are they're the Kleenex,
Right.
Sure. Actually, you know what? For a company like them, it would just probably cost them more money to have something like that. Because when you answer or when you expose people to a more technical side of things and you present them more options, it just creates more questions.
Right.
I actually created that article to reduce the amount of emails that I get of people inquiring about products, and it actually backfired. I get, as soon as that article went live, I've started getting more and more inquiries of like, what products do I use? I did read the guide on your website, but I just want to make sure, or I just want to get information for my specific application. And unfortunately, for most people, I have to tell them the same thing. And I hate telling people this. I had this conversation 4 times today, by the way. It was, hey, unfortunately, like I've never worked on that car. I really don't know the exact specifics, but there's nothing that I could tell you on this phone call that the buyer's guide won't tell you 10 times faster.
Right.
And 10 times easier to follow. Because on the phone, I'll just start rambling, as you know. And next thing you know, I'm like getting super technical and I'm like, wait a second, this person, I lost them. The website lays it out in such a way that anyone can follow it. Like I said, I spent a lot of time writing that article for the sake of being just like very, very detailed, but also very, very easy to follow. And it's hard for me to do that on the phone because when you start talking, it just happens and you're like, you start running like a train and you can't stop it. And then next thing you know, again, they have more questions and then you lose them. But a company like Dynamat, they're so big and they get so many customers because, again, most people Most people don't even know that it's called sound deadener or that it's called, God forbid, constrained layer damper.
Right.
They call it Dynamat. They think that's what the product is called, like a Kleenex or a Q-tip. That's what they think it is. So they don't even need, people are buying that stuff, more than they know what to do with. So frankly, that would just create more inquiries that they'd have to hire customer service agents for, and it probably just cost them even more money.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
Yeah. And for me, I'm actually hitting that breaking point now where I did hire an assistant to filter out the emails. Like she can answer the very basic, hey, do you have I didn't get tracking emailed to me for this number, or hey, do you have an update on this order? It was back ordered since, and I see the products in stock now. Did that go out? Or, any stuff like that she can answer without me even getting involved. Because back in, I hired her back in May. And back then I was like, it was consuming a lot of my time and it was getting ridiculous. So I hired her, and now she filters all of the questions, like the technical questions, to me. She can actually answer a decent amount. She's read my entire website, like top to bottom, multiple times. And she's able to answer some pretty technical questions, but she still forwards me a lot of stuff. And now it's getting to the point where those are starting to consume way more time than it needs to. And it's like, oh boy, we're growing. This is scary.
I mean, it's good, obviously, but yeah, I totally get it. And
it is. I've been replying to emails literally all day.
Wow.
From being, them all piling up from finals. Like I've been responding to emails nonstop all day, and I'm still not done.
Well, thanks for taking your time out from your day of emails to join us here.
Oh, I needed to. I would have gone crazy.
Yeah, I know the feeling, and we kind of hit the same thing when we start. Scott put a lot of the a while back, years ago now, but I mean, he put a lot of the Sound Quality Summit stuff up on. We put that up on the website, and that it's kind of the same thing where you go from specific product questions and now you're in tuning land, and it's like, well, we don't actually offer a DSP. This is probably better questions for a DSP, or go to an actual class or learn this somewhere other than a speaker company who you didn't even buy speakers from, by the way. So it's like, I'm not going to help you make your focale sound better. I'm sorry, I'm not here for that.
Yeah.
In that role.
Oh, I get that. Honestly, I get that all the time. Hey, yeah, I'm the authorized internet dealer for Audio Tech Fisher in the United States, but yeah, I get people, I think probably every day, that are like, hey, I bought this DSP from eBay and they're not answering me. How do I do this? And I'm like, oh, dude.
That was a big portion why we even pursued getting Audio Tech Fisher in the first place, because people would Google Helix, and especially back then there wasn't a lot of it out there, and then they would find us in the US, and then it's like we didn't sell the product, we weren't involved with the product or anything else, but we were handling a lot of the tech support back then. And even now it's like, hey, I saw your video on YouTube from 7 years ago, can you help me fix my Helix? I'm like, well, let me give you the phone number of the people who handle that. And yeah, I mean, and it's not I don't blame the people. They're not being facetious, no. It's not like they're being purposefully ruining your day or anything. It's not ruining your day. It's just a matter of it's difficult because the information just is not easy to find sometimes.
No, of course. I mean, actually, I almost disagree, because I have so many videos on YouTube on how to use that software.
Actually, well, I meant as far as the people to contact. It's not.
Oh yeah, that is not out there. Actually, well, Audio Tech Fisher has a contact form, and they filter that to the distributor. But even just 2 hours ago, I got a message on Instagram from someone like, hey, I'm having a problem with my Helix. I'm like, oh, where is that purchased through us? I don't remember you. And he's like, no, but you seem like the guy who knows.
You're like, come on.
Yeah.
But, oh well, I understand. Do you have anything in the pipeline as far as anything new, or are you mostly just continuing to hone what you have?
Right now, I think I'm pretty set on the products. Uh-huh. I've really refined our offerings to where I don't think I think there's nothing that we don't offer. I think the only thing actually that we don't offer is a mass loaded vinyl product. But frankly, I don't really see a need to offer that because you can't really use that in modern vehicles. So what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
And so many other companies sell it that I'd just be competing against other companies where the product only has one function, one thing to be functional, and that's to have weight.
Right.
Mass loaded vinyl is mass loaded vinyl. It's not like constrained layer damper where you can have one that's really bad and one that's really good, but they look exactly the same.
Right.
Mass loaded vinyl is just based on its weight and frankly, like how long it can last. If it's virgin or recycled mass loaded vinyl, that's all you really need to know.
Right.
So pointless for me to get involved with that. But, so right now I've been working on refining the operations of the business. This is something I've never done before. It's something I don't have experience with. It's something that I've never been taught or learned from anywhere else. I'm just kind of figuring it out on my own. And I'm being forced to figure it out on my own because like I said, it's growing. Like we're growing so much that like, I'm not going to say problems are showing up, but like SOPs need to be developed.
Right.
Working with, an assistant and then having the third party logistics company handling all the storage and shipping, and then having a web developer that helps with the more complex stuff. Like the issues pop up along the way. And how I combat issues with my company, frankly, is I throw money at the problem. If a customer has a problem, I essentially try to just pay my way out of it. Oh, I'm sorry. I will next day air you this product and you'll have it by tomorrow. Which
is a horrendous solution to your business because that's a lot of money.
Yeah, because my products are heavy and it costs a lot of money to. Next thing you know, I next day air one product and it's like there goes all of my profit and then some.
Right.
Because the markup is not high in the sound editor world. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's not.
Yeah, because look at all the competition. It's insane. You can't. Everyone and their mother has a sound editing product now. So in order to even have a product that can possibly sell, like it's kind of like on a race to zero. Anyways, yeah, like markets. Yeah, I will not sacrifice performance, but what I can do is I can scale the business and lower the price for the consumer. So profit is not as important per sale or per product, where it's just more volume.
Right. And you have a lot of different products to offer as well, as far as beyond just the sound editing. So I'm sure that helps fill in some of that.
Yeah. There's like, I look at like the Helix stuff and the Akiton and Micro Precision stuff it's just extra. It is supplemental, but most of the sales are sound treatment products.
Right.
Have you planned on expanding your OEM digital preamp interfaces?
No. Those things actually turn into a huge problem. I list them as on back order on the website. The truth is I have over 40 of them in stock between the different models. The problem is most of them are very problematic, and the manufacturer has proven to be absolutely useless on customer support. So I pretty much ate the cost on that, and I don't offer them anymore.
They also literally messaged me this morning offering the exact same product.
Oh yeah. They post that thing, they post that thing everywhere, and I was like, you know what? I'll just be the guy who like brings this into the US in a larger quantity and can like offer, something and tell people how to use it. And then, hey, like you want to buy a Helix V8, like, by the way, here's an interface for your car too.
Right.
But it turns out, the Volvo one works fine. At least on the Census OEM system, or OEM interface, not the Android Google based one. I haven't tested that yet, but that one's plug and play. You don't have to do anything. God forbid you have the Range Rover one. You have to do like the most insane nonsense to get it programmed and set up that, you have to do it over Bluetooth on an Android device with a Chinese app. And it's like, what?
Oh no.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, this app isn't downloading or it's not working on the app. And like 3 days later, they finally answer you and they're like, oh, here's a Windows based software. You go to download it and Windows flags it as malware.
Oh no. Oh, nice.
And it's like, you know what? I think I'm good. Yeah, I spent a lot of money buying these things, but you know what? I think it's just better if I eat it and pretend they don't exist.
Right.
The Volvo ones I will sell because again, they're plug and play. The rest of them, when people inquire about them, I say, hey, I'll give it to you for the price I paid for. Just do not call me for tech support.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you want the
Buy
tech
and
support,
forget, lose my number.
Yeah. I was like, here's the company that makes them. They answer their messages, whatever. If you want tech support, you go to them. I'll give it to you the price I paid for it. I won't even make a single dollar on it. Just get this thing away from me.
Yeah.
So no, I will not be offering more OEM interfaces.
Yeah, I wondered about that. The one we used on for the Jaguar worked pretty good after.
Well, that's the thing.
After we figured out what the switch configuration was,
All right, so you got that working. That's weird because the Jaguar Range Rover ones are the problematic ones.
Yeah, it took a day or two for the guy to get back to you, and then once you told us like which dip switch configuration, we just flipped them, and it worked perfectly.
Wait, you're talking about the Most 25 Jaguar, not the Ethernet one, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so it's fiber. The Ethernet Jaguar one is the Ethernet Jaguar Range Rover one is the disaster one.
Okay.
The one you're talking about, the dip switches, that one works fine also. Any of the older like interface ones, but most people are calling about the new Jaguar Range Rover or the BMW one. And both of those are problematic.
Because there's not a lot of options for them,
There's none. There are no options for them.
Yeah.
So hopefully, Nav TV is back in the game. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I just read that.
Yeah, so they're no longer closing their aftermarket car audio division. They're keeping it open. They brought in I forget his name from Mobridge to
I was going to say
manage.
Mobridge took it over basically.
Yeah, it looks like Mobridge is involved with it. Most of these people don't care about those details. They just want OEM interfaces.
Right. We need something that works. That's all.
Yeah. I get inquiries about that every day too. Hey, do you have an interface for this car? It's like, sorry, dude.
Yeah.
Nothing. There it is dry out there for OEM interfaces.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I'm just waiting for someone to make something that can just work.
Well, and the problem is that the manufacturers do all so many weird things. But.
Yeah. It's not even our industry's fault. It's like we can't even keep up. Like they're moving so quick. Before an aftermarket car audio company can make an interface, these companies are already moving on to the next generation.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
And they all go with their own little dialect of the language. And
yeah. And even if they're both using Most 150 or AVB or A2B or whatever, it's still a different set of ones and zeros.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Harley screwed up my world in that regard, but yeah, it's curious because obviously difficult to see from the outside. I respect both Thomas and Marco as far as on the speaker end of things with Accuton and Micro Precision, but considering you're kind of in the exact same price range, where do those kind of consumers go, or do you end up directing them, or do they come looking for it, or
are you talking? So wait, so you're asking what do I do with those products?
Well, as far as what are the buyers going for?
What are they going for? As in like what specific products, or like
just Micro Precision versus Accuton, and why?
Oh, okay. So the way I put it to customers is they both play in a very high level of performance, but they're they kind of cater to different tonality preferences, if that makes sense. When people always say when you start getting into the super high end, it really comes down to, subjective preference. And that's kind of where I got into having both of them, because Accuton caters to one side of that spectrum, which I would classify as like super duper detailed, and Micro Precision, I would kind of come in and say still detailed, but a little bit more on the relaxed side of things.
Right.
Where, again, Accuton, like if you're not 100% like able to tune a car very well, you're going to have a difficult time making them sort of disappear, so to say. But once you know what you're doing, and once you're, capable of tuning them, they'll be the best speaker you've ever used. And it's like not even close in my experience. Whereas micro precision, I kind of relate it to, I describe Morel in this way, where they have the sound signature where it's difficult to make them sound bad out of the box, but it can be a little, with the Morels specifically, not the micro precisions, but like where it gets really difficult then to take them to like that 100%. It's easier to get them sounding good, like out of the box, but getting them really far is the difficult part. Whereas I find, like something like, again, like the Accuton or Focal Utopias are difficult for like a beginner to get sounding good,
right.
Because if done wrong, they can be too detailed, which can be translated as too harsh. Again, the tweeter is very sensitive. So it can be described as, oh, these are way too sensitive, way too bright. And people might say they don't like them, but it's not that they're too bright. It's just, you didn't tune them. You didn't know how to tune them. It's not even knowing how to tune them. It's just knowing how to tune. And again, when you are able to dial in a set of Accutons, it is like nothing else. And where those customers come from is, it's a relatively new brand, and it's mostly from people that see the content I've created with them, or the content that Peter's created with them, or the content that Luke has created, or any of the other customers or dealers have created with them. But it's a very small niche market. Now, micro precision's been around for much longer, and they have a very specialized and select, but already existing customer base. So I do get more inquiries for micro precision just because I think they've just been around for way longer.
And plus, Accuton starting out as Arco and then going to Accuton, and plus Accuton itself is saturated in the home audio realm. So if you just search for Accuton, you get tons of results, but you're not going to get into the car audio realm very quickly because it's so far down on the list.
Yeah, exactly. And then you also, the other problem too with Accuton is it's not really an Accuton problem. It's just a situation that it is what it is, where you get people that think, oh, the car audio versions are X amount times more money than these other ones. I'm just going to get the home audio versions.
But they're both white.
Yeah, they're both ceramic cones and they look the same. But the fact of the matter is, like, for those listening, I promise you, if you try to use the home drivers in your car, they will break. I promise you. It's not a matter of if, it's purely a matter of when.
Mm-hmm.
Accuton, actually, the way Marco told it to me was the aftermarket version of Accuton Automotive came to fruition because he himself was using Accuton home drivers in his car when he was competing.
Right.
And they kept, the surrounds kept failing, or the glue kept failing, or something of that. So it wasn't that like the cones broke. It was like always glue joints, or, different things changing with sound with different temperatures and stuff like that. And he kept going through them. And then he eventually convinced them to OEM, car versions. Yeah.
Yeah. Marco's a smart, good dude. So
Marco's
in general, I really like Marco.
Yeah, I do as well. He's funny. Him and I have a lot of fun together. I actually visited him this summer along with Micro Precision and Audio Tech Fisher. But I visited Marco this summer when I was over in Switzerland, and then I hopped over to Germany. And
Thomas is just a crazy wizard.
Oh, dude, he's crazy in the best way. His shop
it's phenomenal. It's like a time machine to a certain degree. But
have you been there?
I've seen lots of pictures. I haven't actually been there, but I've talked to him and I've seen lots of pictures. And yeah.
Oh my God,
it's crazy.
So he has every car guy's dream setup. He has this really nice and cool, like, old German house in like the German countryside that's only like 30 minutes from Dusseldorf.
Right.
And it's a normal, like, pretty cool house. Like, it's old, but he modernized it. It's really, really interesting. And he's like, oh, follow me. And we walk into the garage, and then he has like his, old Porsche 911 covered up. And then we walk into another room, and that other room, it's just a 7,000 square foot warehouse. And it's like, whoa, what is going on in here? And that's his factory.
Mm-hmm.
His factory for his speakers and his amplifiers and all of his test equipment is right in his house. This guy doesn't even need to freaking put his pants on to go to work. He can roll out of bed and walk downstairs and start churning out speakers. It is so awesome.
No, it's pretty cool. Plus, he does amps, and I mean, his amps are pretty crazy as well.
Yeah, he showed me a lot with the amps. What was really cool is I had an order of amps with him at the time, and we did the audio precision measurements on the amplifiers that I was purchasing from him right there together. I called the customer who they were going to. I was like, look, we're doing your amplifier measurements right now.
Right now, it's in front of me.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I've never experienced anything like that. And then Audio-Tech Fisher is a whole different animal. Yeah. Their factory is insane. There's no, I've never felt more insignificant in my life walking into their factory. They've completely redone things, and they're building it out even bigger.
Wow.
Their new building they bought their next door neighbor's building out, and they're connecting it to theirs. And it's honestly insane what they're doing over there. I have tons of pictures from, both places or all of those places. And I have yet to make blog articles about my visit there, and I definitely should. But yeah, there was a lot of really cool stuff. And I was just like, oh my God. And Julian, the son of Heinz, now the CEO of Audio-Tech Fisher,
right?
He is giving me the full tour, and he is able to tell me every little thing about each room, each thing, each little factoid about what is going on at any given moment. And any question I threw his way, he had he knows everything that's going on. And, here I am running a small sound deadening company, and I'm ready to pull my hair out. Meanwhile, this guy is running military level operation that I'm like, oh my God, how is he pulling this off? This is,
and his passion for it is so high, and being that he's, and nothing against him, of course, in this regard, but being that he was, born into it, basically, you wouldn't, you're like, okay, you're the boss's son. Okay, whatever, and it was really his mom who ran the business before him more than anything.
Yeah. And she's still there.
Yeah.
She's still there. And again, to your point, Julian knows every little thing about what's going on. He told me down to the exact number how many resistors they purchased for a certain amplifier 2 weeks ago. And I was like, and he's like, oh yeah, we had to purchase this many this many rolls of resistors, and because of this and that. And he told me different specs and different reasons. He's like, oh yeah, and we actually I found the manufacturer for these little plates for the amplifiers and blah blah. He is doing work, and he knows everything that's going on over there. It's really, really impressive.
Yeah, I know when we first were doing the Audio-Tech Fisher thing, and and there would be, especially initially, of course, there was technical support questions that came in all the time in the beginning that I don't know. So I bounced off him, and there was never a time where he didn't just, it was a 3 to 5 paragraph answer in so much detail. And I mean, it was I would just kind of catalog it as I went. And it was I had this book, of data that he would pull out. And if it was one of those things where if he didn't have it, what's the engineer's name? Florian. There we go.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and for the fact that they do so much programming in house as far as the software and everything else, I mean, it's you have
I got to see the back end of the code that they have for the software. And it's just, when they say it's over 1 million lines of code, they're not kidding. And Florian wrote all of it by hand, and it's crazy. Some of the new stuff they have coming out is crazy. I got to see some of that, in the software for the version 6 that's going to come out. When it does, it's going to be insane. What I really like about them personally, it's more of a selfish thing, is the fact that I can just message them and be like, hey, can you include this feature in your next update?
And then 2 weeks later, it's oh, there it is.
And not only do they include it, they make it better than what you originally told them.
Right. Oh, that's a good idea. Let's do this.
Yeah. I remember a few months ago, or, however long ago it was, I was like, hey, do you think there's a way that when I save Room EQ Wizard filters as text, do you think there's a way we can select what band those filters start at when importing them into the software. Because, when you use tone controls use band 2. And when you import filters, it starts at band 1, and you essentially lose that 1 second band and you have to input it manually. So I was like, can you make it so that like a dialog box pops up and you can like select band 3 it starts at or something like that? And Florian just said, okay. And then a few weeks later came the new feature where you don't even have to save the filters as text. You just click the copy button and a little dialog box pops up in the Audio Tech Fisher software and says, here, import your filters. By the way, what band do you want to start at?
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
for sure. It's absolutely crazy. So the only thing they haven't implemented that I've been asking for has been a oscilloscope feature for the input signal.
That would be pretty neat.
That would be, but it would be very difficult.
Yeah.
That's they're like, that's a lot more difficult than it sounds. And I was like, yeah, well, that's my suggestion.
Yeah.
Make it happen, boys.
It'd also be pretty cool if they had a way for if like the vehicle turns off, it doesn't just lose all your progress while you're tuning.
They do have that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, so how it works is if the software, how when you unplug the USB, it says, oh, trying to reconnect attempt 1, attempt 2, attempt 3, and it goes to 5, and then it says disconnected, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If you hit close on the software, it'll give you the option to save that file.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when you reopen the software, you can just import that file.
Yeah. It doesn't work every time.
Really?
Yeah.
I have never had that problem. But that might be something on, again, if you experience like a weird bug, if you just let them know, they're like, oh, we fix tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. That is one thing that they're excellent about is really following up on questions. And Arc Audio is the same way. If you have a suggestion or some kind of problem, both of those companies are tremendous about helping you and with any of the technical aspects.
Yeah. And by the way, for what it's worth, I use Audio Tech Fisher, but if Audio Tech Fisher for some reason disappeared overnight, Arc Audio would be my next choice. And it's not even close between them being my next choice and like my third choice.
Right.
Arc Audio is doing really good also. And I actually, I tuned a setup with an Arc DSP the other day at finals. It was my first time. Actually, it was my second time tuning one, but it was my first time doing one in person. Clifton, you remember me tuning Ben's car remotely that featured the Blackbird, I think it was.
Yep.
But so I tuned my first PS8 Pro in person in Alan's car for finals.
Yeah.
And it was I was like, all right, this is a little different. But at the end of the day, I was like, you guys have pretty much all of the features and all of the cool little like stuff going on that like I can dial this in.
Yeah. With the DNA software, I enjoy using it much more than I used to.
Yeah. And I managed to do good enough that Alan won his class in Iasca, got second in his class in Mecca, and had the second highest sound quality score in his Emma class. So
that's awesome.
He was pumped, man. It was so cool to see. It was amazing,
Pumped doesn't even begin to describe what he was feeling.
Oh, man.
The way I was describing it, I was like, Alan is the happiest person on planet Earth right now.
Yeah.
And it's not even, again, it's like not even close.
Oh, that's awesome. And here all this time, I thought you were going to say Zapco is your second favorite, but
no.
I mean, whatever.
No. I mean, if I wanted like someone's car to catch on fire, maybe, but I don't know.
It can be arranged. I mean,
Yeah.
there's always side effect benefits. You can go into.
Yeah, that's a feature, not a bug.
Right. Exactly. It's supposed to do that. That's part of it.
Yeah. So you know what?
Music's so good you can feel it.
Yeah. Speaking of finals, Mike, how did you enjoy it?
Oh, it was so much fun.
I had a lot of fun this year.
It was one of the most fun finals I've had in a while. But I didn't really have much of a job.
You weren't competing.
There.
You weren't judging.
Yeah.
Because it was fun because I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah. All I had to do was, basically do demos for people and help, fix problems for competitors' cars as they arise. And
fix problems. Never would have guessed.
Yeah.
Weird.
Oh, weird. Oh, yeah, Cliff, we missed you there.
Yeah, I missed being there. It was my best finals too. So
you watched from home.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of enjoyed it because people were still messaging me, and I still knew about the good things and the drama and everything that was going on to a certain degree, and then I got to watch live, and I didn't have to drive, and so it was.
What kind of drama did you hear?
Oh, there's always some drama. It wasn't too bad.
You know me, I love hearing gossip.
He likes the Days of Our Lives version of car audio.
Yeah. It's entertaining.
Right? No, it wasn't too bad this year, I don't think.
Yeah, actually, I haven't heard anything crazy either. Usually it's like there's some crazy conspiracy of something that happened, but like I haven't heard anything from this year, so I don't know.
I've been trying to get most of those people onto the podcast to talk, so that way they can get all out here instead of doing it on Facebook. So
that way you get the views. Yeah.
Well, and it gives them somewhere to, outlet that. I think people are maybe more understanding of the fact that there are going to be differences among judges, and that's okay. There's going to be differences among the orgs, and that's okay. That it's not all about the outcome. I mean, I know, when we talked to Peter last night about some of it and his concepts, and it was, some of his insight was things that I should know because I've been to the same shows that he goes to, but it's something that I was always very impressed with like Euro finals and stuff, is just the theater of it. There's something for everybody there, and we're very cut and dry here, especially like when it comes to awards and stuff. Okay, and such class, third place, such and such, second place, such and such, first place, such and such, and in this class, third place, such and such, second place.
That's actually something we discussed. Me, Alan, Peter, and Ron Baker, a bunch of other people. We were all, and Miguel, a bunch of other people. We were all hanging out at their Airbnb after finals awards, and that's something that Ron brought up. He's like, man, my only complaint with finals is like, it's the big show. We pay a lot of money for it. It's at this big hotel that's, attached to the convention center. But like, we have these wimpy award ceremonies.
And I'm like, stage. There's no,
not even that. He's like, why not do like a banquet? And I was like, oh, that's actually a good idea. He's like, even charge for it. Charge the cost of like the plate. Have like a buffet. Do whatever. And that would be so much more enjoyable. And that way, and I also realized another benefit of that too. It's always on Sunday night and it always runs late. After Sunday night,
everything's closed.
We can't even we had to eat freaking the worst pizza on planet Earth afterwards. Right. Me being from New York, I don't do bad pizza.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was like a struggle.
Because Mecca used to do the banquet on like Saturday night and do all the specialty awards and stuff then. And then the regular awards, part of the problem with that is a lot of times in most all these halls, they only get them through Sunday night and they have to be out like by 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Because most of the time people aren't hanging out till Monday. So it gets very expensive to have that difference. But yeah, I mean, I think if there was a way to, and I've already been brainstorming on at least what I can control, like at Aggieland and stuff, me doing that part of it better. That's a very good point too, as far as having more, after party, because that was something Peter brought up too, like in Germany especially and stuff. He pointed out that people hang out after awards more because there's food there, or at least some kind of, even if it's just meat and cheese kind of thing, but there's something there just to for people to be able to have something to sit around, hang out, and ask judges questions and stuff like that afterwards. So, I mean, I think that's definitely good advice.
But I mean, like you mentioned something like, oh, the orgs are going to be different, the judges are going to be different. I think that's still my biggest kind of gripe with cardio competition. Not that a lot of people are going to listen to this and be like, they're going to be like, dude, you hardly even compete. You don't even you shouldn't even be talking right now. But I think I still can because one, I'm an observer and I'm at a lot of these events and I'm still supporting them. I'm still documenting them more and better than anyone else. I'm still, sponsoring shows. I'm still donating product and whatever. Right. But like, there's 2 or maybe 3 like big problems I see is like the amount of organizations. Like, this is getting ridiculous.
Well, that's part of the problem is that when you have it spread out that much and everybody has a different methodology and different music and different judging and whether the orgs are even selecting the best of judges are able to, because by the time you get done, you're out of people. So
yeah, it's like, it's kind of insane. There's 5 organizations now?
Basically, yeah.
What is it? There's Mecca, IASCA, EMA, MASC, and ECA, WCA.
Right.
It's like, what the hell is going on, guys? Like, can we all like kind of not do that? And yeah, like things will differ just because of how they weight the score sheet, but there still shouldn't be that much of a difference between organizations. I find it really weird when we see one person do really good in one organization, but then really bad in another. That's when it's like, okay, something's up here. What's the problem? And most of the time, the problem is, in my opinion and experience, is I really think a lot of these judges are not as good at hearing and deciphering what they're hearing as they think they are. I don't know. I'm going to get hated by a lot of people involved in this by saying that, but
I don't think it's really a hot take as far as that goes. I mean, I think that's...
It's not a hot take because all the competitors think it, but the judges and organizations hate hearing it. And I get it. I understand hating hearing that, but like, it is the truth. And I heard some cars this year that were frankly some of the worst cars I've ever heard at finals, but they still placed really well. And I'm like, this doesn't really make sense. You know?
And there's, I think also with that, at least from a event coordination standpoint, part of the problem you run into there is just with cars being spread out. You might have one organization judging a car Saturday morning. They retuned the car with friends Saturday night, and then it got judged by another organization Sunday afternoon. Or, I mean, I know that's not the excuse for every single time, but I think when I've seen the most consistency among the orgs, at least historically, at least with like old school IASCA, old school Mecca, I say old school, I mean more than a few years ago, the most consistency was when everything was judged at the same time. And that's where, my big thing has been, for finals, if you're going to have a unified finals, hey, unify it.
Yeah.
And then have an outcome among all the organizations, just like, an invitational round where you have a winner of the event, not just the organizations.
Oh, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they all go towards that. So,
and that way you would also promote people to compete in all organizations.
Right. Because then they get a best of show, basically. It's just like what we did at the events, at the Parkinson's research events, or like what Richard does with the
WCA.
Best Hunting Vehicle Award.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's, combined everything, and you would use all the same judges, all the same score sheets, all the same music that you are now, but you'd have it grouped just like we do it like Aggieland and stuff, have them grouped, judged all at once, and then, have an outcome for the entire event for those who actually compete in everything. And I think you would see more consistency in that, just because it would force competitors to do it all at that point without making changes with, and they would still have an opportunity to change tunes, I guess, between the orgs if they needed to. Obviously that's debatable on whether, some people think you need to, some people think you don't.
Can I add something to that while we're talking about it?
Yeah,
my stance on that is accurate, correct is correct. One organization shouldn't have a different, preference than another.
Yeah, but I think playing the game, you do need to.
some people say, oh, you have to account for the music. Well, and people say like, oh, you need more bass in IASCA because there's not a lot of bass on the IASCA disc. And it's like, well, if that's what the tracks are, that's what the tracks are. Like, you shouldn't be adding artificial bass. Now, I understand adjusting for certain judges because that judge's unfortunate subjective preference, but like basing it on an organization's music is like insane to me. Because
I agree,
again,
because reproduction should be reproduction regardless.
Yeah, reproduction of the output signal. Reproduction of the input signal should be accurate. Period.
Right.
And if there's not a lot of bass, there shouldn't be a lot of bass. Sorry.
Well, and I think the IMA disc has thrown some people off, especially this year, because it isn't as pleasing. And I mean, Ayahuasca's disc was that way for several years, where it just wasn't very pleasing. But that's what it was. So, I mean, that's what you need to be listening for. If you're listening for it to sound better than it is, that's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I agree with you completely on that. That's not. I don't think that's necessarily debatable. But to your point, like on the judges and that, I mean, I think that is where you get an advantage because of competing more and getting more, feedback from judges. It makes it easier to please those judges when you know what they're wanting on certain things.
Yeah,
and that is part of playing the game. It is what it is. But as far as the orgs go, I agree, and I think that's something the orgs themselves need to cover better on their material that they're putting out. The problem is, like IMA, for example, and I mean, it's something that I think IMA USA can take care of better, but IMA Global, they're not going up against all these orgs like we are. So, the competitors just have IMA cars, they're not having to go from this to that so much. But I don't know what some of the orgs want. I don't even understand really what some of the judges want.
Well, actually, Peter actually explained a situation that contradicted what you just said. He said in the UK, they are more after something like we listen to in the US, with a decent amount of bass and, kind of a rolled off top end. And whereas in Europe's mainland, they are looking for a little bit more flat, flatter on the top end, flatter on the low end.
Yeah, they don't want any bloating in the mid bass or sub bass.
And they don't like that rolled off top end, which I absolutely agree with. Most of these cars are getting so ridiculously dull, just for the sake of not like offending a judge. I think it's insane.
I think we are on the same page as far as what you said about. I guess my point with that was that if you're competing in IMA until you go to Euros, but for the majority of the year you have consistently the same judge, similar as if you're here and you're always going to a Mecca event, or you're always going, but now it seems like we have a lot more crossover between the styles at each event. So that's where it gets a little more. And then you in that case too, you also have judges who aren't like ever going to be judging that org at finals, but they are judging that org all year at the local events. So it's difficult.
But I mean, at the end of the day, accurate should be accurate.
I agree.
So it's a little disappointing when, like, I don't even know if I should say this.
That's when you should say it.
And obviously, yes, and I think you're just stalling for drama right now.
I'm really debating. I'm really wondering if I should hold my tongue or if I should just say it, because it's gonna upset a lot of people.
We're not talking to you for you to hold your tongue. Now, come on.
Let me think about how I should word this.
You can always cut it out if it's too much.
I'm gonna try my best to remain politically, like, stay out of the bullshit, but still get my point out there. Oh man, this is going to be difficult. What I've experienced traveling to different regions and hearing cars, and how they go about these different organizations and how they score these cars and what the cars actually sound like, is very, very eye-opening. And it makes me wonder, like, what is going on? Like, and I think I've said it, I don't know if I've said it previously on your podcast or if I've said it somewhere else, but essentially where I'm going with this is, in the past, I've said, I don't think a reference is as important as people make it out to be. It is important, but I think people really overblew. Like they made it out to be like it was absolutely needed, or you couldn't possibly have a good sounding car. Truth of the matter is, I went without a decent reference until like 8 months ago, and I had pretty damn good sounding cars before 8 months ago. But now, after hearing what I've heard over the past, like, probably year, not even, I'm like, okay, maybe a reference absolutely is as important as people are making it out to be. Because, I'm seeing a lot of cars do well in various regions at, these local or more local shows. And then hearing them myself, I'm like, how is this a good car? How is this a good scoring car? There's nothing, we can ignore the enjoyability factor of it. Ignore that. Because some people are like, oh, I don't enjoy listening to that car. It's just not fun. It does nothing wrong, but it's not fun. I'm not even saying that. I've listened to some of these cars. I'm like, this is not correct. And it's not even close. Very bad tonal accuracy, very, piss poor imaging, not like staging, not really good again, because your imaging is piss poor. It's like, how the hell are these cars scoring well? And how the hell are these people thinking that this is anywhere near accurate? Like, it's very easy to hear these problems. And, it's just weird. And then, you bring them out of that region and they come to finals and they still actually do well. And I'm like, that's what raises my eyebrow the most. I can understand if it's like those cars stay in that region and they stay doing good. It's like you could chalk that up to just, all right, this is just bad judging and just bad whatever all around in that area. But it's like, oh, these really bad cars showed up and did pretty good. What the hell is going on? And like the cars that actually do sound really good either lost to them or only beat them by like a little bit. It's like, what really is going on? I can't wrap my head around it.
Interesting.
I don't know. I'm rambling a little bit. I'm wondering if I got my point across while still trying to remain politically correct.
I think you need to put a sharper edge on it, because I'm not sure if
I'm not going sharper than that.
I'm picking up what you're putting down, but
I will. As soon as this stops recording, I will absolutely go into detail. I am not going into.
I'm not asking for specific cars right now.
Well,
yeah,
but I guess
so. Ask a question that helps me provide more context then, because on my own, I'm just not doing a good job. Right. I don't know.
I mean, I guess part of it is, to me, is when you're judging to the criteria from car to car. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to. I guess when you're saying that there are worse cars outperforming better, and I saw that some at finals. I mean, I think, to me, the easy button problem and solution is the amount of judges going towards a singular result. And this is again where I say, if you really want a unified finals, put all the score sheets together and have an overall outcome of the day or the weekend. And similarly, one judge determining any outcome in anything is pretty much random chance, because there's no one judge, any judge. And this isn't against judges. It's a fact that there's always going to be taste in it, and taste is okay. More bias to what you like, and taste is what we're after here, but you need a plethora of it to actually get to an accurate result. And in my opinion, that requires an absolute minimum of 3 judges, and I would prefer 6 to 8.
Yeah, exactly. That's my biggest gripe with IASCA, is one judge. Like, that's a little crazy.
Yeah, one of the classes they used a bunch.
Wait, what?
Yeah, but for three cars, right? And then install was included, so it kind of threw out the whole thing.
Good point.
Yeah, and that's my gripe with Emma, is like, and I know they're not going to change, and there's nothing I can do or anyone can do to change it, but like, no one wants to compete in install. I mean, not no one, but like most people don't want to compete in install. Like, Emma could have a really good organization on their hands here in the US, but it's just like, do we really have to compete in install? Like, I just want a car that sounds really good, looks normal. I don't want to have to do crazy shit to get creativity points.
Well, you don't have to most of the classes. I mean, as far as Emma goes, only X Limited or X Unlimited do you have to worry about that. But
yeah, but I mean, for me, so perfect example is Alan. Like I said, I tuned his car at finals. He had the second highest scoring sound quality score in his class, which was like, I think the biggest class of the event. It was a big class, but he still got like 5th place because his install is like not, I don't know. I don't know exactly what it was missing. I wasn't there for his install judging. And I also do not pay attention to what they're really going for in that class. Cause frankly, I just don't care about following each organization's rules that much, but it's just weird. It's like, dude, no one, it's a different culture here in the US, you know, in Europe, the culture is slightly different towards car audio and most things in general, where they do want to like really build and show off these things. And I think it was explained to me that the reason they want install to be included is because they want to attract spectators to get more people into it. Do you know if that's correct, Cliff, or am I off there?
Yeah, and actually, I think we discussed that with Peterson last night, or maybe I'm pushing into a different conversation that I had recently. But yeah, I mean, I think the difference there is the fact that EMA UK events, EMA Germany events, Eurofinals are all combined with big other car shows and stuff. So you have a lot of spectators there. And if you just show up with Walmart traffic, then nobody's going to pay attention. You have to have something to attract people over when you have spectators there. And I understand that we don't have necessarily that spectator thing, but I mean, I would say that EMA itself has changed the culture here to a certain degree, in that you see a whole lot more cars open because they lose points if they're not. You have a lot more people who they're still on the learning curve of the install side, but even in like Alan's class in EMA Limited, like it's not all that difficult to max out the score sheet for that.
Okay.
It's just because I mean the install score sheet pretty much up to X Limited is designed to be maxed out. You know, it's especially and you know the lower classes are like 118 points, and most people, as long as you got documentation and stuff, you can max it out real quick. You know,
yeah. So I mean, where I was going with my point was we can even ignore that their events are set up differently than ours, where theirs are bigger and have like they're attached to other events going on. The US has a totally different culture around what people want out of their car audio system, not just for sound, but like for the install itself. Most of these people that are going to be, let's say, purchasing a sound system or seeing one of these events and like getting into it, they're not going to be interested in like doing some, you know, all this, custom labeled heat shrink and tech flex on everything, or a creative little volume controller that does this or does that. Like most customers want the car to be relatively factory and like left alone.
Right.
You know? So I don't know. I think that would be my argument towards like, we want to attract the spectators to get involved, or attract spectators in general. To me, it's like, if you want these really crazy installs, most of the general public's going to think we're, trying to relive our Too Fast, Too Furious days, and they're going to think we're jackasses.
Yeah, again, except for X Limited and X Unlimited, which are for the people who want to do all that. Most everything else is a matter of what the presentation, how well you know your system, how well you've documented things, and being able to present it. And, I guess my argument to that to a certain degree is the fact that it puts the competitor into participating with the event of their car, because otherwise it's just handing over the keys and then blaming the judge whether they did good or not. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying that.
Yeah, maybe that's why people don't like doing install. They have to take some accountability.
Well, and that's the thing. Like now, if you won or lost based on install, it's kind of like, well, you had skin in the game here. You can't just blame the judge.
Yeah.
And I say that because of my own. I mean, I came in to car audio in the Mecca, with the Mecca revolution, with back to basics IASCA, where there was a withdrawal from the big flashy fiberglass installs of the day, and a lot more fuzzy carpet. And it wasn't until I got the G35 that in 2012 2013 that I did an install presentation, and I went straight into doing an expert, level IASCA install presentation with Andrew Fleming from the UK, which is probably one of the most difficult install judges on earth. But when I succeeded at that, it's one of my most treasured memories and trophies now, because it was a huge deal that it wasn't, and especially now, I mean, to your example with Alan, to really do well in some of these events, you can't do it on your own. And at least with the install side of things, even if it's a fairly minor thing that you're bringing forward and doing, being able to participate in that and bring it forward and know that you had a tangible part of your earning that event beyond just bringing the car and paying for it, I think does have its value. So that, I mean, again, I'm not saying that one is die hard right, one is die hard wrong. Either way, I like on the ASCA side, I certainly don't agree with including SPL and stuff like that. I mean,
yeah, that's another silly one. It's like, dude, come on.
But especially in the lower classes where it's meant to be maxed out, it's fairly easy to max out if you just.
I thought the creativity points went down to like the medium classes as well.
No, the creative elements don't. Yeah, because I'm just looking at M Unlimited. It goes down to, I mean, it's presentation. I don't think, I'll have to look. There might be some bonus points in M Unlimited, but I don't think it's much. Because like even X Limited is limited to like 15 bonus points. So
yeah, it's still 15 points though.
I understand.
Anyways, but yeah, like SPL being involved now, like I think that's even worse. I don't know. I understand, but like, come on, like what are we doing? Like again, no one is wanting to build a sound system where they have to take up trunk space and do this. Like the times are changing, and I don't know. I think everyone wants it to be the glory days again, but it's just not.
Yeah, but it wasn't the glory days then. I mean, that's, I guess, my thing. Like it wasn't great for everybody then. It was great for the people who won.
You're saying it wasn't the glory days for everyone?
Yeah. Because okay. I mean, when you had 30, 35 people in the class, of course, if you were top 3, that was pretty cool. There's now the majority, 30 people who were pissed off. It's like when we did the.
But they still thought it was cool.
Yeah, but where are they then? I don't think they did.
I mean, well, most of them are probably dead now. That was a long time.
Well, I understand, but I mean, even by the 2000s, they were gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
A few years later, they were gone. Back then. So yeah,
but I like what Mask is doing the most right now. To be honest, they're keeping events, or at least their like score sheet of the given event, very inexpensive, and their score sheet is broken down in a way that I think. My opinion, I think their score sheet breaks down reproduction of a car audio system the best and really separates the good cars from the bad cars and the good cars from the great cars. I think it separates them the most. And I actually think that's why, again, we saw a lot of these cars where I'm like, wait a second, like that car didn't sound that good. Why is it, getting second place, third place, whatever, first place? I don't know. Where I think Mask's breakdown of their score sheet really makes a car fall apart. Like the score sheet falls apart if the car isn't doing everything like correct. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's my opinion.
Did you get to demo a lot of cars while you're at finals?
I didn't demo a lot. I would say I demoed most of the cars I did videos on. And then a couple of more, so actually that's a decent amount. I probably listened to like 15 cars.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I got to listen to maybe, it seemed like almost half the cars, but it probably wasn't that much.
Wow. Which car was your favorite? Let's talk about it.
Favorites? I really enjoyed Brian Mitchell's new build.
I
really
that thing is that. It's so crazy. That car is so crazy. That install is nuts.
Yeah, I mean the tonality was pretty good. It wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good. And the thing that really kind of made it different was the spatial aspects. Like the room size and stuff like that was just a lot different than most of the other cars there. But honestly, I didn't get to hear Steve Head's vehicle. It's usually pretty cool in that respect too, but by the time I got over there to take a listen to it, somebody else had hopped out and he needed to let the amps cool down or something like that. So I didn't. He wanted some more time before I could listen to it, and then awards was happening, so I just didn't get a chance to listen to his. Brian Gills was pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good one.
Yeah, that was Mask. Actually, speaking of Mask, that was their highest scoring car and probably their highest scoring car ever.
Yeah, it was almost their highest scoring car ever.
What was their highest scoring car ever?
I don't think we can talk about that.
Oh,
they never released the scores on that one.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Who else did you think had a good car? Brian's was really good. It was better in the respect that he finally managed to get it to sound like wider than the car itself. He always had that problem where it sounded like a narrow tunnel.
Right. Yeah.
Because it was so deep, but he finally broke that barrier. And next thing you know, the sound stage opened up, everything sounded, still good and big and deep, but it opened up from left to right and it was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, I noticed it more like in the top end, it like the ambient effects seemed to kind of go outside the pillar. So it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed the demo I got from Brian.
Yeah. Who else? Who did I think had a good? Honestly, I think Miguel Rios had the best overall, most impressive car that I heard. Really, really good sound quality. Maybe not as good as Brian Gills or the Mercedes that Pete had there, but good Lord, the level of output and impact that car has is scary.
Yeah, between him and Steve Cook, man, those things would absolutely jam.
No, I don't. I listened to Steve Cook's and I put the volume up pretty high. I don't know what volume level Miguel put it up to for you, but it's really not normal is the only way to put it. And the thing is it stayed 100% composed. Thanks to
awesome.
Sound Editing Products by Resonix Sound Solutions, but we don't have to talk about that. But
it's okay. You're allowed to say that on this podcast.
Oh, I am. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
well, I mean, we also sponsor the podcast, so I'll say
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
The podcast starts out with that name, so it's all right.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, that was the loudest I've ever heard a sound quality car get. And it sounded like the same as what it did, at half volume or 3/4 volume.
Yeah. He's really worked hard on that thing all year and it really paid off. It sounded great.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. I also, like I said, the old Mercedes was also really impressive, built by Ramsey, and then tuned by Peter. Me and Pete were troubleshooting an RCA issue at Thursday night at 1:30 in the morning together.
Yeah, he told me about that.
Oh my God, what a nightmare that almost turned out to be. But Pete tuned it Friday, then pulled it into the place, and it sounded really good. But Mike, I think, or Cliff too, I think both of you guys would agree if I said, "Oh, old vehicle, do you think it would sound really good?" Like in OEM locate or mostly OEM? Not OEM locations. Only the mids were. But you'd think most vintage vehicles have no chance at sounding great just because of the shape of them and their construction.
And especially Mercedes, because I've had multiple Mercedes and of that era, and they're impossible to make sound good for me. I know. I'm saying they're very difficult.
Yeah, no, this one sounded really good. And I was really impressed by that. It's like, oh, this is a vintage vehicle that sounds just as good as the top level cars here. That's insane. And again, it goes to
I was hoping to get a demo, but
you didn't get it?
There was just such a line of people. Every time I tried to get over there was just someone in it. So
yeah.
I'll have
Pete,
to catch it
I don't think Pete got out of that passenger seat all of Saturday and all of Sunday.
Oh man, he was insanely busy.
Yeah. There's one thing that he does, ignoring the tuning and installation aspect. There's one thing that he does really good and does way different than everyone here. And that is demoing a car. He demos a car very well. Most people here are just like, oh, hop in my car. What kind of music do you like? Oh, cool. By the way, here's volume up, volume down. Do your thing. No, Pete curates an entire demo for you.
I did the same thing. Yeah, it's a smart move.
Yeah, and he does it really well. So I think that's something that people here need to learn how to do. And that's actually why, when I do events, when I host events, or or when I'm sponsoring an event, I try to get a best demo, as like a little side competition for everyone.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Along with what I'm saying as far as promoting people to do install just because of their participation side of it, I think people definitely, we need to find more incentives like what you're talking about to get people to demo better because and talk about their car better. I think it goes together. Because something we've talked about in the last couple episodes, both with Peter and with Aaron, and now with you, is like where we have these potential crossover events with home audio, with home audio events like in Florida or in Chicago at Expona. It's going to, I mean, I don't know what your feelings are on it, but my thoughts are, being at plenty of CESs and everything before, is that getting people in the home audio sector to voluntarily listen to a car is going to be extraordinarily difficult.
Yeah, to say it's going to be difficult is putting it lightly. I've been to some home audio get-togethers here in New York, and I've showed up with really good sounding cars, and I mostly, frankly, like this is like earlier in my years of owning like Apicella Auto Sound or whatever. And, for the hope that I can kind of convert some of these home audio guys into car audio customers. And I would never even mention that I owned a business doing that, or that's what I wanted them to do. I just wanted to go there, listen, and then be like, oh, hey, like, you want to see what I did in my car? And then hopefully they ask about it, and that can kind of lead into it. And never once was I able to get any of these guys into my car.
Yeah.
They quite literally had zero interest. I think it's cool that like these events are being organized at home audio shows, but I really don't think the goal is, unfortunately, I hate to be negative, but like, I really don't think the goal is going to be met.
Yeah. And my thing is like, in terms of expectation, I think it needs to be going in as,
it's just a car audio show. That's it.
Right. Well, and focus on the core of the event, make the core of the event, as always, as best as you can make it. And then the home audio thing for the car audio people is mostly just an attraction.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's cool to be able to meet some of the people involved and whatever else, but getting that cross promotion to get those people interested in spending money in car audio, I think is a very tall task.
Yeah. Again, I think the idea is cool. I wish it were as simple. Saying, oh yeah, we're going to do it there, and then we're going to gain some interest. But like, if I didn't have this past experience with home audio guys that's pretty much identical to yours, I would have been like, oh yeah, that's probably a really good idea. But I've firsthand learned, like, again, small sample pool, but still, and you had the same experience in a much bigger sample pool, that the home audio guys generally want nothing to do with car audio. And it's not because they think anything about us. It's just they have a preconceived notion in their head that like, that is not a thing. Like, that's not possible. That doesn't sound good. I'm not even interested. And you can't even like you said, as soon as you mention 12 volt, like they immediately do a 180 and walk out of the door. You can't even say, but wait, like I promise you.
Well, like I mentioned, we talked about this with Aaron, obviously, because Aaron's in the home audio sector in that, so he, has those connections. He knows those people. He's at those events already himself.
Yeah.
And, but it's very similar to, how many times did you go over to visit the SPL side this weekend during finals? Did you go upstairs to listen to the quote, the reference home audio system they had there?
To answer your questions, no.
And, similarly, my day job being a motorcycle audio, if I brought a Harley into finals, how much interest is there going to be?
No matter how good yelling it is. At you.
And, yeah, exactly.
Who's like, get the hell out of here. What are you doing here?
Or if I took a demo car to Sturgis, nobody's going to care. Like that doesn't matter to them. They, so people are doing these things for a very specific, specialized reason. And like Aaron mentioned, most of these people are coming in with their list of rooms and people that they're wanting to engage with while they're at those events. And most of the time, that in and of itself is what is taking up their time while they're there.
Yes.
Going to an extra thing of listening to your car is going to be a difficult thing without some over time and figuring it out and extraordinary marketing and whatever else. But I mean, I think it's going to be very difficult to make it relevant.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very very difficult. I think I'm saying we like I have anything to do with it. I think the car audio competition organizations should be going back to the roots of like, trying to stick to the car audio industry instead of going the way of like, oh, let's attract home audiophiles. Again, I think the idea of like going to those shows is cool, but I think expecting anything out of it is a bad move to make.
Right. Keep the expectations to zero, and then maybe you'll be surprised. But
you'll be surprised. Willing to bet you won't be. But yeah, I think we need to involve the cardio industry and kind of do it like how Emma, like seriously, just take a page out of what they're doing in Europe. They're doing it much better than we are.
Yeah,
as you have experienced, Cliff, right?
Oh yeah, been there a couple times.
So I want,
and even like in the UK and stuff, they're doing it, better. And I think a lot of it is attaching themselves to the bigger events where there's at least a spectator pull from that are interested in cars, and there's some back and forth. Honestly, stuff like the ESQL competition that people make fun of, but that is an attractor of people. Even when you're there, even the sound quality people, it's an attractor of people. It's
the ESQL thing made me cringe a little bit. I couldn't even watch it. I'm sorry. I was like, oh Jesus Christ, get me the hell out of here.
I bet you next year you'll be doing it.
I bet you next year I will not be doing it.
He's gonna run away.
Yeah, like a good example is just like a little drop from the industry, like Dean and Fernando from 5-Star Car Stereo were at finals this year.
Right. Yeah, that was cool.
I was on the phone with Dean for like almost an hour earlier today, and he was like talking about it. He's like, "Oh my god, like that was cool."
You do a Dean impression very well.
Yeah,
I'm serious. You really did. Like I was.
Yeah, that's like exactly what he said. He's like, oh my god, that was like really cool.
Yeah,
and Fernando also was like, I spoke to him there, and he was like, "This is
don't
is
do
pretty
a Fernando impression."
I can't do the.
I know. Don't do it. Just don't do it. We'll get canceled.
Yeah.
He actually listened to my car.
Oh yeah.
Fernando did.
What did he? Yeah. What did he say? He was probably like, this is great.
I think he liked it. I'm not sure.
Well, I spoke to them. They did like your car.
Oh.
And they definitely were like, we didn't really understand, like, this is our first time at an event like this. Like, we didn't really understand like what was going on. We never really looked into this before, but they said, screw it. Like, we don't have anything holding this up this weekend. Like, let's go check it out. And they were pleasantly surprised by it.
That's cool.
And, I think most of our industry, like if we showed up to K-Fest or Master Tech or whatever, I think we'd have a much better chance of getting spectators in our cars than we would if we went to home audio shows or general car shows or anything of that sort.
Yeah, we could even attach something like doing a score sheet or something on any of the manufacturer demo vehicles that are there or something. Award like a best sounding kind of car. I knew that they kind of have like a best sounding car at MasterTech, but I have no idea what the criteria is on that.
It's probably who sponsors it with the most money.
Yeah, but I mean,
Rockford wins.
Pick an org score sheet or something, and just have somebody go around and score these things. It won't be long.
There is potential. Knowledge Fest Vegas. I'm working on potentially having an event there.
That would be really cool.
And
count me in.
Knowledge Fest Vegas would be really cool to have an event. The problem there is, where do you do it?
No, inside. We actually, we actually have potential for like 20 to 30 cars inside.
What?
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Yep.
Oh, that would be crazy.
Yep. And also, I've been working on potentially throwing in a tuner challenge
I'm there
at the Knowledge Fest. So I think it would be, and the tour challenge would be even, to me, that's something that you can, hype up kind of the whole process and thing, whatever else. You can just use somebody's demo car that's there, and kind of go through the criteria and all. And I think there's a lot of potential there because, you don't have to get all the cars there. You don't have to have all the room. You don't have to do all those things. It's just, show up and do it. So
yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
You definitely need to do the tuner challenge, Nick.
I know. The only reason I didn't do it this year is because I was literally out of the country.
Yeah.
So we actually talked to in when we were
I was
talking.
doing. What'd you say?
Skiing or something.
No, it was during the summer. There was no skiing. I was just, enjoying life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He just said bugger off. So Peter, as of our discussion last night, Peter's going to be at Aggieland, and he was like, "So you're doing a tuner challenge at Aggieland, right?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." So,
so we're doing it.
So if you can make it to Aggieland, consider yourself invited.
Yeah, I'll probably, I'm getting a lot of interest in these competitor spotlight videos that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And frankly, I'm sticking like little itty bitty advertisements of like what I'm offering. And like, I'm using that as a way. So like earlier in the episode, I said, the website and what we're offering is like growing constantly. I've been using these competitor spotlights as opportunities to plug little updates like, oh, hey, check out this new article, check out this little product, check out, we changed this around. And ever since I started doing that with the ones at Luke's Get Together, sure enough, my traffic on those particular articles or my sales on those particular products has gone up significantly. So there's almost like a financial incentive to go to these.
Well, that's great for the competitors and everything too. And I think the fact that you know you're focusing on something that I never would. I'm much you know how I am anyway. I'm much more focused on like the person and their background and what they think and that kind of thing. And you're focusing more on the products in the car and how they executed it and everything else. And that stuff that I'm less interested in,
and like things they learned and like what kind of advice they would give to someone else, stuff like that.
But I think it's great too because it is putting them on the spot to present their system, and that's good for them and it's good for the industry. So I applaud you there.
I will argue something here. So a lot of people like, again, earlier in the episode, I was kind of talking some shit a little bit about cardio competition or organizations, whatever. And I've had plenty of people over the past like couple of years, like kind of like really hit me hard. Like, dude, all you do is talk shit about cardio competition, blah, blah, blah. But I'd also argue on the flip side, I've done more to market cardio competition than any of these organizations have done on their own combined.
Oh, yeah.
The amount of views that I get on these videos and the amount of people that comment on them, like, oh my God, I didn't even know these were still a thing. Where do I find these events? Or they'll email me privately like, Nick, oh my God, your videos are, I didn't even know that like it was like that. Where can I find these events? The amount of times I've directed people to these things, and I only started doing them a little bit ago. I did my first round of them in 2019, but I didn't do anything like them for like another 4 years, until last year's finals. And even in that 1 year, I met people at this year's finals that said they were there because they saw my videos.
That's phenomenal.
That was really crazy to hear.
Well, it was funny because even talking to Peter, like, and I said this in that episode as well, like, he being from the freaking UK has brought more people in to finals than a lot
finals
of
just existing.
Yeah, exactly.
We need more of that. I mean, it should be kind of a thing, like Nick and Peter and Dean and Fernando and all these personalities that they follow, should be kind of advertised that they're going to be at these events. And I think it'll draw in even more people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I think
because that's the magazines of today. That's the
absolutely.
Maybe this actually kind of brought up, maybe like it just kind of sparked something in my head. Maybe this is like the real downside of having multiple organizations is that they're being stretched too thin and they don't have like the manpower to do the proper marketing.
Well, and I asked back in the day, it was a marketing company. That was the whole point of it. It was, competition in the beginning. I've said this too many times now, but I mean, competition in the beginning was here to sell product to people. Like it was the only job of the competition scene. It was to bring people
promote
in.
Manufacturers.
Yeah, to promote the brand, to promote the dealers, because I mean, the big point there was people weren't installing their own stuff. They didn't know what to do. It was the dealers who were installing it. It was promoting the dealers. It was promoting the brands, and it was there to sell product, bar none. And the competitors were the product of IASCA in that regard. Just like if you're a user of Google, you're the product of Google.
Yeah. If the service is free, you are the product.
Exactly. And it was the same with IASCA. The competitors were the product; they were the commodity to sell the product to other people and to incoming competitors, because you have so many competitors. I mean, that was a big part of the, that was a big part of the market. So, and I'm sure it's the same for, like Karma. It's probably, I would say, I don't know, but I mean, I would say at least a small percentage. I mean, the competitors are part of your, your revenue.
Small.
And that changes over time. But yeah, I mean, it
very small.
yeah, I understand. And competitors usually don't like pain, especially nowadays.
Oh, but, no, they don't. No, they don't. Can I just throw this out there?
Yeah.
Competitors, stop asking for pricing. Stop asking for special pricing. Car audio competition. There is no room for sponsorship in car audio competition anymore.
Right.
There's just not really any upside to it,
Well, for the shops too. I mean, even for the shops like, big shops like MTI or whatever, like they don't want to lose money on.
Me and Scott Welch had this conversation. This weekend, where not only are competitions like not bringing in like people to where it's like a thing that's used for marketing now, but competitors like want or expect a discount. I'll get anyone who is like doing this and like work. I'm always willing to like work with people, but like the people expecting discounts or like they just shoot you a text like, hey, can you get me a price on this? And like you send them a price, whether it's something they like or not, or if it's, retail pricing or the homie hookup price, like, and then you don't even get an answer, and then they end up getting it from somewhere else for cheap. Because I'm so over that, because you can even give someone hypothetically that you're friends with like dealer pricing, and next thing you know, 8 months later, it's listed for sale on DIY Mobile Audio or Facebook Marketplace. And it's like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? Like, I don't do this because it's fun. I do this because I have to fucking feed myself, unfortunately. Thankfully, I don't need a lot of food because I'm like the scrawniest person on planet Earth. But like, goddamn, man, like it just hurts everyone involved when you do that. And a lot of these competitors don't realize it. Like, God forbid I sell someone. Here's a hypothetical scenario. This hasn't actually happened, but like hypothetical scenario, someone can hit me up and say, hey, Nick, can you get me a price on a Brax processor? And I'm like, and it could be someone that I've been friends with for 10 years. And I'm like, I'm not charging my friend who I've been friends with for 10 years retail price. And I get it to them for whatever. And, 8 months later, they decide they want to go to the new, X, Y, and Z processor, whatever cool new processor is out. And then they list it for sale for like, they, in their head, they're like, oh, I just list it for, I just want to move this. I didn't pay a lot for it. I just need to move it. It devalues the product as the product line as a whole, which hurts your friend, the dealer, in the long run. And it's like, dude, what the fuck? Come on.
I've been better off not selling it to you. Yeah.
Yeah. I would exactly. It's like, I have to put in all this. It is easy to supply someone with, a product, but it's like, there is support that goes with it. There is, there's other things on the back end that goes with it.
And then in 2 years when they want a warranty and
yeah, exactly. Or like anything of that sort. And it's like, now it's like, no one's getting
really. And the hard part now is like, I mean, it's been for a long time now where the brands, team hybrids, when we had the big team and, Mike was Sound Team 6, similar story. And then Arc Audio still, churns at that team. But, people don't realize that, the competitors are like, look what I did for you. And I love like every single competitor involved. I'm obviously in contact with almost every competitor out here in a very regular basis and everything else. This isn't against competitors, but the competitors, sorry, at this point, you're not doing anything for the brand. You know what I mean? Like,
you guys really, they really do think it's like, dude, I want a trophy at a look. So what? No one cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Again, if it was 1993, different story, maybe. And that's what it was back then. But like, that's not a thing anymore.
And it's also, the whole thing is so kind of by the competitors for the competitors because of a passion project. It's, it's like what, Chris said in his monologue on, Chris Pate on his monologue the other day, like, MTI puts 20 grand into, Aggieland and making it work and making it fun and getting the competitors money on the payout and everything else. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's because Chris wants to throw a party with 150 of his closest friends. That's what it comes down to.
And we, have fun.
Right. And that's great. I mean, it's awesome that they're willing to do that and they back it and support and everything else. But again, it's not, it takes participation from everybody to be involved and do it, but nobody is doing each other this big favor here. It's just because we're piling in to have a big party and hang out and have fun,
Yeah. I actually have a similar experience that actually I get like that ties into this. Like when I used to host events at my shop, I used to do, like prizes. I didn't do stupid fucking trophies. Like who the hell we're adults. Like who the hell wants trophies? Like, let's be real. Like, come on. I think that's another thing organizations need to stop doing. Just make a little plaque and maybe do prizes. I don't know. But anyways, I was giving away, like, if any used equipment or any even new equipment that I wasn't using, like I would be like, shit, throw it on the prize table. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay all the judges to fly out here. I'm going to rent them a car. I'm going to rent them a hotel room. I'm going to feed them and I'm going to pay them for judging. I was hosting these small events where maybe 18 to 25 cars would sign up. And I would still spend, maybe around like $6,000 to get it, by the time it's all said and done. And I would only collect a couple of thousand, if that, on score sheets. And I had one guy, like this was one like person who like kept doing this. He'd be like, and he, was never a customer of mine, never wanted to have me install it. He would just hit me up for pricing on every other product under the sun. And then he won something. And then later on, hey, Nick, how much for, this processor? I forget exactly which one. And I told him the price of the processor. He's like, come on, man. Why won't you give me a deal on it? It's like, dude, I just gave you essentially like free speakers that you're going home with because you paid $20 to sign up for an event. Like, God damn. I don't know. Venting.
No, yeah, absolutely. Of the cars that you heard, what was that you weren't involved in? What was there anything unexpected or
can you say that again? Any cars that I wasn't involved in?
Cars that you weren't involved in that were unexpectedly great or that you really enjoyed or something.
Well, like I said, like Miguel's was crazy. Let's see. I mean, all of the cars that I heard except for hold on, I'm trying to remember. All of the cars that I heard except for like 2 or 3 were pretty damn good. Out of the other 2 or 3, 2 were okay. Out of 4, sorry. 4 were 3 were okay and 1 was like pretty bad. And that was it. We're not going to get into that.
Do you think the overall curve is better than it was a year ago?
I don't know. I didn't really listen to a lot of cars last year.
Okay.
No, I'm going to say no, honestly. I'm going to say no. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think, well, there's some cars that have gotten better and some cars that have gotten worse. Like, example, Brian Gill's car got better and hearing it myself showed that and its scores showed that. Meanwhile, one of the, lesser cars that I heard, I think I heard it. Yeah, I must have heard it. I heard a couple of cars previously where I thought both of them sounded better at previous events. And I was just like, oh, what? Like, we're taking a step back here. Like, and it wasn't like a small step. I was like, what happened here? So yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know what. Maybe some experimentation, but who knows?
Out of all things we kind of discussed or maybe haven't discussed, what would if you had total control of the situation, what would you do about finals? What would you do?
What's it? Oh, the situation of finals?
No, I mean just what would you do for if finals was yours to control, bar none?
Beer,
what would
alcohol? No. Let's see. I don't know. I mean, I haven't even thought of anything like that because I'm not really involved in anything. But I think I would try to attach it to the cardio industry to get more involvement from that side of things because you already have a customer base to be had there. You know what I mean?
Right.
You already have a predisposed demographic that is into car audio, is capable of installing, and a handful of are capable of tuning.
I was gonna say, and a lot can learn to do better there,
and a lot can learn from it,
right?
And a lot would be interested in learning from it, I think. But it would have to be marketed correctly, and I think these organizations aren't doing a good job of marketing that. And I think part of that comes into play is, one, it's a little outdated. Frankly, you have these guys who have their normal day jobs running these things, and like they've been doing it for 100 years, and like they're kind of really not with the times of what the cardio industry is, because they're not even involved with it.
Right.
And then also they're spread way too thin.
Right.
You know, again, like perfect example is Mask, MASQ. It's just Howard and Robert running everything. And it's like, you know, between getting everything, you know, doing judges training, doing the score sheets, doing track lists, doing the website, you know, booking events and dealing with logistics of all of that, while having full-time jobs and a life outside of that. I couldn't even imagine doing that, number one, let alone sitting there brainstorming, how do I market this?
How to fix the industry in the process?
How do we fix not the industry in the process? The industry needs fixing. Like the cardio industry does need fixing. But how do we bring it back? You know, it's almost like cardio competition in the industry were on a 2-lane highway, and at some point that 2-lane highway they split off.
Oh, 100%.
You know, one went north and one went south.
Yeah, 100%.
And you know, trying to get these organizations to essentially turn around and bring them back to where it's on a 2-lane highway is a very difficult undertaking, because it is so far gone at this point.
Well, and I feel like they're all competing against each other now instead of actually like.
Oh yeah, exactly. That is something, you know, being in the, you know, ins and outs of like the private discussions, like that is what it seems like. You know, a lot of people have been, you know, it's mostly been marketing against the other organizations. And it's like, guys, come on. Like, you have maybe 100 people across the United States that do this.
Right.
Can we just stop? Can we stop? Like, and can we kind of get back on track? I don't think we can. But if any organizations are listening to this and you want to do that, let me know. I would be more than happy to help.
Yeah.
But as they're doing things the way they're doing, I don't think they are doing a great job at that. Or I don't even know if that's their end goal. They might not want that. I would imagine that they want that, but they might not. But again, I don't want any of these organizations or anyone listening to this thinking that I'm just complaining for the sake of complaining.
No.
If you know, anyone from IASCA or Mask or Mecca or Emma or ECA, WCA want to message me, be like, hey, like we need help with marketing, or we need help connecting this to the cardio industry. What can we do? Yep. You know, I'm sure if they did the same with you, Cliff, or you, Mike, I'm sure you guys would be like, oh, cool. Finally, like, let's see what we can do.
Right.
But no one's asked. No one's bothered. No one's done it. I don't know.
It felt like, you know, around 2000, I mean, before COVID, it felt like we were getting there where we're kind of pulling things, you know, kind of stringing everything together to where it had some potential to do something. Then COVID hit and splintered everything. And now we have twice as many organizations, and nobody who was involved before is involved now. And it's just like, okay.
Yeah. Well. And it's weird. It's like a weird, you know, I actually came across my old playlist from the 2019, I think it was, or 2018 finals. Where I did my first ever like competitor spotlights, and I even had some manufacturer spotlights. And I was like, oh shit, there used to be booths at these events? I forgot about that.
What?
I was like, when the hell did that go on? I was like, oh yeah, that was only 5 years ago.
It feels like 20, but
yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that would be a difficult undertaking. But I think, you know, maybe to any of these organizations that might be listening to this, you know, maybe approaching with a proposal to Knowledge Fest, you know, the MEA, or to Mobile Solutions for Master Tech. I really think that is your lowest hanging fruit,
right,
for getting the highest impact on professional involvement.
Yep.
Especially probably Master Tech, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that would be the best bet, because it seems like a partially outdoors event where like you can maybe fit it somewhere outdoors. And two, it's more of the people that are interested in like the higher end side of things.
Okay.
The fabrication, the higher end product lines, stuff like that. And, the fabrication and, those abilities kind of tie into what we're doing here. We require a high level of install, and those are the people that are capable of it. And clearly they're willing to travel for it, because it's not like Knowledge Fest where they have it in multiple different locations over the country.
Right.
And you see like the same group of like X amount of people that do fly in for these, or at least for the main one in Vegas. But like the other people attending are just like the people that are within the local region, and they're just there to check it out, and then they never show up again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem of its own. Like that's a discussion I had with Dean while we were there. It's like, they need to do a better job of marketing that as well. But I do think having a big event, sort of like SVR or Aggie Land, attached to something like Master Tech or Knowledge Fest Vegas, would be the lowest hanging fruit, because it's actually pretty plausible that could happen.
Right.
Like I'm sure, and Master Tech probably being the easier one, considering it's a smaller event, I think.
Right.
I don't know. I think that would be the way to go.
Yep.
And again, anyone who has any sort of say in those things, if you're interested, please just let me know. I take all these videos, and, I don't exactly do it for fun, but I do it for fun. Like I really do. Like I started doing it because it was fun. I didn't think that it would eventually turn into a way like, oh, people become more aware of my brand that way. I started pulling out the Resonix didn't even exist when I first started doing them.
Right.
I
remember when you were doing it. Yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
I actually still have, I have a video of Scott Buwalda's final install presentation of Black Betty that I never uploaded. I don't know. I think I didn't upload it because there was so much loud noise in the background that like I couldn't really, like, salvaging the audio was really difficult. And then I think life just got busy and I kind of gave up. But I think now with modern tools, I'll be able to salvage the audio in that.
That'd be awesome.
And get it up.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That would be.
I'd totally like to see that.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Anyways, again, like any of these organizers, if you're interested, I'm here to help. I think, a lot of people would say that, oh, Nick's a complainer, he's always negative or whatever. But like the people that really know me and have actually interacted with me, like, no, I'm sure, but I'm always willing to help.
Well, and we said before, you're an asshole online, but you're a pretty good guy on the other side. So.
I really don't think I'm that much of an asshole online.
Not as much as you used to be. No,
I think it's more so just direct.
Yeah. Your communication. Language. Yeah, your communication is very factual.
I don't got time to fucking like make a response pretty to anyone.
I get it. See, Mike's better than either one of us. He just stays quiet. He doesn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I appreciate you.
Stay neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you, Switzerland?
Yeah, that's why I call him. I'm always like, hey, Mike, you're Switzerland. So.
Yep.
Yeah. I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate everything you do, and I know, like I said, I understand, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I told this to you however many months ago when, we started talking about you doing the podcast again, that I really appreciate you. I really appreciate what you do. I really enjoy your podcasts. And I frankly, that was the main reason why I was like, sure, like I'll sponsor it. It wasn't because like it was going to be that much of an outreach thing, because frankly, most of the people that listen to this probably already know what Resonix is.
Right.
But, I like what you do and I like what you're offering. And I do think that, there needs to be more content surrounding this. There's nothing, it's just, frankly, it's a bunch of competitors like circle jerking each other on Facebook without the podcast, without these videos, without stuff like that. So I think it's cool. I think it's cool what you're doing, and I really appreciate your kind words.
Well, we will talk soon, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Gustavo is here. He's staring at me. He's like giving me the look that
he's over
I'm
this
2 hours late. I'm feeding him.